What will it take for this government to take crime seriously? At what point does this ANC government sit back and say, guys, we need to do something about crime? Because it seems like with the ANC government, everything's fine. The country is prospering, everybody's safe. While on a daily basis, we are dealing with very, very, very shocking crime stats. And the mass shootings started very slowly in the Eastern Cape, KZN areas. And what has happened lately is that we now have mass shootings 2 weeks in a row. And the pattern is very, very similar. It's people that are sitting at a tavern drinking, and some random guys show up with AK-47s and take them out. And then in some instances, there are babies even involved. So the question I'm asking myself is, if you are the South African Police Service, what are you doing about that information? Why are you always chasing criminals as opposed to understanding what they're going to do next and catching them, which is called crime intelligence? At what point does this government take crime seriously? At what point? At what point does it take crime as something that has to be done, as something that has to be stopped to protect the lives of its own citizens? At what point? Because I'll tell you something now. Over and above the mass shootings, at what point does the government, at what point does law enforcement take the issue of hijacked buildings seriously? In Joburg, we don't have 10 or 20 hijacked buildings. There's 100, 200, 300, 400 hijacked buildings in one city. And some of these buildings are government-owned buildings. So you make me understand how a government, the city of Joburg, can allow that to happen. At what point do you take responsibility as a government and say, no, enough, we need to take our buildings back? How many housing opportunities are there? We've got a housing problem in Joburg alone, in Gauteng alone. But you are letting go of assets that belong to the government and you are handing them over to criminal elements. How many kidnapped kids are in those buildings? How much drugs are being moved in there? Brothels, prostitution, human trafficking. How much criminality goes on in hijacked buildings? Because hijacked buildings, just from looking at them from the outside, you can tell that they are havens of criminals. But our government does nothing about it. At what needs to happen for the government to act on crime, act on corruption, act on robbery, act on immigration, act on people getting killed on a daily basis, act on extortion against businesses? At what point does the government do anything? At what point? And then it also brings me to a month ago where uh, President Ramaphosa announced that gender-based violence is now declared officially as a crisis. That's exactly a month ago. What has happened since then? You announced that GBV is a serious problem in our country, and now it's a crisis. We're going to use all the resources we have to make sure that our women cannot be abused anymore. What has happened since then? So it was used as a pacifier just before the G20 so that he can assure himself that nobody's going to protest at the G20. So let me announce that GBV is a crisis, and then everybody will just forget about it and everything's fine. It's been a month. What has happened? What measures, what major steps have you seen being taken against GBV by the government? Nothing. So our government is into acting out and acting like they're doing something while they're not really doing something. So the question I'm asking myself, and it's a really daunting question, why does our government not do anything about crime? Why do they not put resources and skills and find ways to deal with the issue of crime? For example, hijacked buildings. Everybody knows hijacked buildings exist. Everybody can see a hijacked building from 100 meters away, but the government doesn't do anything about it. It really puzzles me. So now we have mass shootings, we have hijacked buildings, we have GBV that's been announced and declared a crisis and nothing has happened. So the question I'm asking myself is, at what point does the government take crime seriously? And at what point as citizens do we say enough? Why is the government so happy for crime to continue the way it's continuing? So that's the question for the day, guys. Say, like, it really breaks my heart to see people dying every week, every day, every hour, and the government never takes steps to deal with it. So just to remind everybody who's watching this channel for the first time, or those that have subscribed, I really appreciate you. And those that have been making orders on the merchandise, I really, really appreciate you guys. At the moment, it's free shipping. So when you go to heartful.store, it's free shipping for everybody who buys at the moment. And also to remind uh, anybody who's watching this channel that we give updates on the ICJ case on Fridays, and also on the Heartful Patrol Unit. We do updates on Friday, and Monday to Thursday we cover other things. So the thing that I really want to start now, I'll announce which day we'll start this, so that we can start a WhatsApp number where you can send your videos. And in these videos, we'll be sharing with other subscribers and the community of Heartful about crime itself, what crime we've experienced, and then we can just share this experience amongst each other. And sometimes sharing crime stories actually makes us more aware of crime, and we can even stay more vigilant when we're out there, to make sure that it doesn't happen to somebody else. And we can discuss what we're going to do about it, because Heartful is passionate about dealing with the issue of crime. Guys, we have a crime problem that is like a war zone situation. We have a crime problem in South Africa that if we don't sort it out, we will lose this country. So Fridays is all about updates. We go through comments, what has happened, how much we've raised, and we will choose a day, and then the minute you start seeing a WhatsApp number at the bottom of the screen, it means that you'll be able to send your videos. We'll keep it to about 2 minutes to 5 minutes, and then we can just share and discuss a little bit about the crime that has happened to us as individuals. Like I'm saying, just by telling your crime story, you'll also be doing an awareness campaign to other people who are listening, so that they can be aware of it. Anyway, until then, stay safe.